Have you ever checked your ex's social media hoping that they look miserable, or stalked the new supplies photos online, or tried to find proof that they are miserable together? Well, this episode is for you. Now, I just want to say, first of all, thanks for being here. I'm your host, Allison K. Dagny. These thoughts do not make you broken. There is nothing wrong with you if you have done this, okay? And this episode is all about the thoughts that you're ashamed to admit after abuse, okay? But these things make you human. And if you're a survivor of emotional abuse, narcissistic abuse, and toxic relationships, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to stay trapped in this kind of thinking. Now, today is going to be all about these secret things that nobody really talks about. Maybe you confide in your one best friend and let them know, but otherwise it's something that you're doing kind of undercover and nobody really knows. Now, the reason why this is not helpful to your healing is because it keeps you not only stuck in the past, but it reinforces rumination. It creates a thought pattern in your mind where you are continually focused on something or someone that no longer serves you. And I'm here to help you with that. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to break down the 5 most shame-heavy beliefs that I have had myself, or I have heard from other women who have been struggling with the same thing. And chances are you will relate and maybe have thought these things in your own mind. Number 1, the other woman is better than me. Now, here's the thing. What happens in your mind when you have this thought is that you're reinforcing this loop that you are not good enough. Okay, someone being better than you, this is this whole thing about comparison, right? Comparison is the thief of joy. You've heard that before. If she's better, then what you're logically assessing is that you were the problem, right? I wasn't enough. There's something wrong with me. She's better than me. I'm not good enough. Okay, so if you've experienced a relationship that was very toxic, where that maybe you were in a divorce situation, a really bad breakup, abuse, whatever that is, and that new person in the picture, and you're looking at that new person thinking, this person is better than me, for whatever that might be, for whatever reasons. Oh, they're younger, they're prettier, they're smarter, they have their life together, whatever, you insert it, right? But if you are assigning that meaning that that person is better than you, then you're reinforcing old beliefs that you are not good enough. Okay, I have other episodes about that you can go back and listen to if you choose to, but I'm just going to break these down first and foremost, and then we're going to talk about some other stuff as we go, like why these things actually make sense, and then shifting into reclaiming your power. The second one is, if I was good enough, he wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have cheated. He wouldn't have abused me, right? You insert the whatever. If I was a good enough wife, a good enough girlfriend, a good enough whatever, right? This would never have happened to me, right? This is a myth. This is a thought that a lot of women think after they've experienced this kind of abuse, and probably men too, right? You're believing that if you had done something differently, or you had just been better, or you had just tried harder, or done more, or, been everything he ever wanted, whatever, right? Then he wouldn't have cheated. He wouldn't have lied. He wouldn't have abused. He wouldn't have whatever. But that is not true, okay? People do what they do because of their own programs, their own insecurities, their own desires, needs, perceptions, wants, whatever. It doesn't have anything to do with you. Their own lack of morals, their own lack of empathy. It actually doesn't have anything to do with you at all, or your worth. But these are the things that nobody talks about, that run through their mind and that they're too ashamed to say out loud, so I'm going to say it. The third one is this. Now, you may say this out loud, and I certainly did, but hoping that your ex, your abuser, feels bad for what they did, they regret it, and then they suffer. Okay? What you're doing here is you are craving justice. You are searching for justice through their pain. So you might want to see them miserable. You may hope something bad happens to them. You may even want their new person in their life to abuse them so that they know what it feels like, right? So again, this is just one of those things that we think about often, and this is normal. I just want you to know, just like I said in the beginning, this is all very normal. I've felt these things, thought these things, and so have many of my clients. The fourth one is the repetitive thinking about the ex, the rumination, and then the thought that goes with that is something must be wrong with me. Okay? So you think about it, and you're like, I don't even really miss this person. I don't even want to be with this person. I don't like this person, but I can't stop thinking about them. So the logical conclusion that many of us come to is that something must be wrong with me. Something must be wrong with my brain. Why would I want to keep thinking about somebody who did me dirty like that? Why would I want to be focusing any of my energy on somebody like that? Something must be wrong with me. Well, that's not true either. That's your brain's way of trying to help you out. And you might be like twisting your face up right now, like, what? Why is that my brain helping me out? Well, because you've been through a lot and you've experienced a lot of bad things. And so all that stuff, your brain is trying to make sense of, and you keep thinking about it. So when you have thought about it enough times, your brain kicks on autopilot and says, oh, this is important, so I need to make this automated for her. So I'm just going to let her think about it all the time, and she doesn't even have to make any effort. So when you're falling asleep at night, you're thinking about it. As soon as you wake up, you're thinking about it. All day long, you're thinking about it. And then you're concluding that there's something wrong with you because you can't stop. But that's not true. And you can stop. It just takes some practice, and you have to rewire your brain and reprogram it to do something different. Just like a computer. The fifth one here. Another secret belief that people often don't talk about is that I should have just been better, or I should have just, and then to take it further, maybe if I just do what they want, or I'm just nice, or I'm just, easy to deal with all the things, that maybe he will appreciate me. Maybe he will realize what he lost. Maybe he will understand the consequences of losing me. If I should have been better, but now I can be better. Like in the past, you're thinking, oh, I should have been. Well, you can't change that. But now going forward, like, oh, maybe if I do that now, then maybe I will get some favor from him. Or if I do the things that I feel like he might want, then maybe he won't take me to court. Or maybe he'll be more amicable when it comes to, changing the child support agreement, or like whatever, right? So this like belief that not only should have been better in the past, but if I do better now, that it somehow will turn into something positive for my life. Maybe he'll like me. Maybe he'll remember what a good person I am, and maybe he'll treat me good now. Okay? Now, those are the top 5 things. Okay? I'm not saying that there's not more, because there are. These are just a lot of the ones that people don't talk about. And I want you to understand why these kinds of thoughts actually make sense, okay? Because you might be thinking, as you're listening to me read these off, like some of you might be nodding your head, but others might be like, oh, that's like, doesn't make any sense. I shouldn't be thinking those things, okay? But your nervous system, okay, is wired for your survival. So your brain is trying to solve, think of it like an emotional equation, right? If I caused this, I can fix it. If I wasn't enough, I just have to be more to make it better, right? Like think of it like that, like cause and effect kind of thing. So your brain's trying to resolve this disconnect in your mind. Another reason why this actually makes a lot of sense is because if you have been emotionally abused and you have been receiving intermittent reinforcement, meaning if you've heard of the term breadcrumbing, right? The person is treating you horribly, but then occasionally gives you love, care, kindness, attention sporadically, not consistently. What you're doing is you are hanging on to all that good stuff and like hoping for more of it. I don't like the word trauma bond, but I'll use it because I know people are familiar with it. But essentially, what's happening here is that your thoughts are stuck because your body still believes that you are either in danger or that there's a possibility that you could get love, support, care, all of those things. So when I'm talking about like the trauma bonding aspect of this, it makes sense because if you're in a state of mind with your nervous system where your body still thinks that, well, maybe if I change my behavior or do something different or be something different, then I can get that love again, right? Which is what happens when we have these thoughts like, if I wasn't good enough, they would have abused me, so wouldn't have abused me. So if I am just better, then they won't abuse me. But that's a logical fallacy. That's not true. You are being abused not because of your behavior. You are being abused because of the abuser and the abuser's perception, their morals, their values, their belief systems. That's why you got abused, right? So like, let's think of like an infant baby. An infant baby is crying if it gets abused by its parent or caregiver. We're not blaming the baby for crying. We're not saying, oh, the baby shouldn't have been crying, right? No, we say, well, there's something wrong with the person who abused that baby. There's something wrong with them, not the person who got abused, okay? Another reason why these kinds of thoughts that I shared before make sense is because of comparing yourself to the other person. That serves as a protection in some ways. Like, for instance, if you could just figure out what made her so much better that he wants to be with her and treat her good and all that stuff, that maybe you could avoid that kind of thing from happening to you. So it's kind of like, oh, if I can control my situation by seeing like, what is it that she has that I don't have? Oh, okay, well, she's got a really great job and he must be really attracted to that. Well, maybe I just need to get a really great job and then people will treat me better, right? So sometimes that comparison piece is what we're doing to try to keep ourselves feeling safe. So let me just back up here real quickly. So these things that we don't talk about, we don't really often believe other people can understand. So we're going to keep that quiet. We're going to keep it shut down. We're not going to tell a lot of people. We might tell our close friends or maybe share it on social media to a bunch of strangers who don't really know us because we don't want to be judged. We don't want other people thinking, what we're thinking. We don't want other people to think, yeah, well, maybe that other person was better than you. Maybe you did do something wrong. Maybe you should have been better. Maybe, no, right? This is just your brain's way of trying to process this information. None of those things are true, okay? Now, what I really want to focus on is shifting to help you reclaim your power. Because if you've had these thoughts in your mind, if you're checking their social media, you're hoping that they look so miserable, you're checking out his new girlfriend online, believe me, I've done this, okay, at the early stages, and you can read about it in my memoir, When Tears Leave Scars. It's pretty entertaining. But if these things sound like you and you're like, ugh, like nodding your head or like, yeah, I've done this before, please don't beat yourself up. Like, this is very normal, okay? Like, it's okay. It's not that there's something wrong with you. It's not that you even really miss the person. Like, this is all very complicated stuff that happens in the subconscious mind. And that's why I want to share it with you so that I can help you. So Let's just think about some reframes here. Okay, if you have a pen and paper, you can take notes, because some of these things might be things that you've thought about. And if other things come up for you as I'm talking, you might want to just jot those down and find your own reframes. And if you have things that you want to share with me, you can find me on Instagram and just send me a DM, be like, oh, I listened to your podcast, and this is the thing that's coming up for me. How could I reframe that? And I'll tell you. Like, it's pretty easy for me because I've been doing this for so long, and that's how I'm trained. So if you're struggling with it, just reach out. Okay, so first and foremost, let's say that one of the ones that you're struggling with is this thought that she's better than me. Like, this new girlfriend is so much better than me. I've heard this so many times. But what if she's not better? Okay? What if we look at this in a totally different way? That the new person is just filling a need for the abuser, the narcissist, your ex, your whatever, right? What if that new person isn't better? They're just available, okay? Because here's the truth of the matter. Abusers are abusers, right? Can people change? Absolutely. I do believe that people can change, but from what I've seen, most people don't, okay? Can they? Yes, but that's the exception. So why is it that we want to keep going with the story like she's better than me instead of, wait a second, my ex could not be alone for more than a couple of months before he ended up jumping into the dating pool, right? Needs somebody to fulfill something inside of him. Not that this person was better, that this person was available. This person gave him what he needed quickly, right? Just think of that for a reframe, okay? It's not always about the other person being better. What else could it be? Could it be that they were just there and your ex just didn't want to wait to get that supply, and this person was able to give that supply pretty quickly? I use this example a lot of, like, if you have think about like a person who deals drugs, okay? You're a drug dealer and you're selling drugs, and the person who comes to buy the drugs is addicted to that drug. So every time you see that person, they're willing to give you that money and they're willing to, take those drugs, right? Well, let's say that person doesn't pay you for your drugs, and you're getting real sick and tired of it because you're giving them the drugs and they're not paying you. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to stop giving them the drugs. So essentially, you're the drug dealer, okay, in that relationship. And your ex is the addict, okay? They need that supply, right? Well, what if they keep coming back, and you're just like, no. You put your hand up, you shut the door, you ignore them, you say no more. What are they going to do? They're going to go get their supply somewhere else, and fast, right? Think about that. Okay. The next reframe is about abuse in the way that we're thinking that it was caused by us somehow, okay? Abuse isn't caused by anything you did. It isn't caused by some lack in your personality or some behavioral issue or anything, right? Abuse is caused by the person who is abusing. Their lack of empathy, their lack of self-control, their issues from how they grew up, how they were programmed, what they believe, right? So we need to reframe this like, I got abused because I wasn't good enough, or I got abused because I wasn't a good enough this or wife or whatever, right? Like, no. We need to look at it from a different lens. Abusers abuse because there's something wrong with them, not because there's something wrong with you, okay? So there's that. And I don't know if you guys can hear this, and I'm sorry if you can, but there's construction happening right next to my house as I'm recording this, so I hope you can't hear it because it's kind of annoying me. I hope it's not annoying you. Okay, so another one is when you want them to hurt, when you want them to feel sad, when you want them to regret, right? because you're hurting, right? You want that justice. You want them to feel bad. You want them to be the ones struggling and suffering, not you, right? They're the ones that hurt you. You do not, how do I say this? You do not need to make yourself out to be the villain for that, okay? That's normal. You're allowed to want to feel relief. Now, I will tell you, it might temporarily give you relief and happiness knowing that they are suffering, okay? But that is not going to heal your wounds. That is just a salve. That is just a like a cream that just kind of eases the sunburn, right? It's not actually healing it. It might cool you down temporarily, okay? But if you're thinking, oh, I wish this bad thing would happen to them and you're like beating yourself up over it, that you're thinking that, or you're like ashamed because you think that, please know that there's no shame in that. That's just anybody wanting to have justice served, okay? And anybody who's been hurt would at some point want justice served, okay? So you're allowed to want to feel better. The difference here is that if you think that that's going to be the solution to your pain, well, then I'm here to tell you that that's wrong. It will not be the solution to your pain. It will just be a temporary solution. You've got to get to the root of the pain in order to actually heal that hurt, okay? So the other thing that I want to mention here is that rumination piece, right? These thought loops. Your thoughts are not the problem, okay? The repetitive nature of your mind taking you on this like broken record, repeating song over and over and over and over again, right? That's the problem, okay? The loops, the repetition, that's the problem. But so you don't have to like say, oh, I shouldn't be thinking these things, or like there's something wrong with me. Like, no. The healing happens when you take back control, when you notice that you have those repeating thoughts and patterns. Okay, instead of judging yourself, instead of beating yourself up over it, you say, wow, it's happening again. I've got this repeating thought in my mind. And then saying, wait a second, this is actually a good thing. This is actually healing to me because I'm recognizing this, right? I'm not letting it run away with my thoughts. I'm actually able, because I'm aware, to heal from this. So the shift here for this is that you're, like if you're thinking like, oh, there's, something wrong with my brain and like, I just can't stop thinking and, I am broken and I need to be fixed. No, the shift here is realizing that awareness of what's happening to you is actually a catalyst for your healing. You're like, oh, wait, there's a lot of people out there who don't even know this. There's a lot of people out there who've never even heard of the term subconscious mind. And they're constantly running these thoughts through their mind, and it's taking over their lives. But you know now. And if you've listened to this podcast, or even if this is the first time you're ever hearing it, now you have awareness. This is an opportunity for you to heal. Okay? So it would be no different if I had a rash on my skin and I kept scratching it and scratching it and scratching it and saying, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me because I have this weird skin issue, right? And then I just allow that to be my problem for the rest of my life instead of saying, wait a second, I've noticed that I have this issue. Hey, maybe now I can figure out how to fix it. Instead of just like accepting that I have this skin issue and never doing a darn thing about it. You can do something about it. That's why I want to tell you all this stuff so that, number one, you feel heard, because these are secret things that people don't talk about a lot. And so you can start shifting these things and feeling more in control and more powerful. Okay, one more that I want to help you shift is this thought that he shouldn't get to live his best life. I hear this all the time. And like whatever, in quotations, his best life actually looks like to you. Okay. So, oh, he's making all this money in his job, and he's got this new person in his life, and he's traveling and whatever, right? Like whatever that looks like. He's out living his best life, having fun, while I'm over here struggling, suffering, and feeling like absolute trash. That's unfair, right? I get it. I know. But here's the thing, I want you to reframe this, right? You're thinking he's living his best life because what you see, okay, or what you heard, or what people are telling you, or what comes up on social media, right? You're like, oh, so you see all these things and you're like, oh, he's living his best life. And then you're mad because why should he get to be happy? Why should he get to have all these things? Why should he get to move on so quickly, right? But let's just reframe this a little bit. Number one, we don't really know what's going on inside of this person. And we know that a lot of times these abusers lie. They fake their lives. They tell people all these things. They have social media posts. They, are talking to people, and the word gets back to you for like, and however it does, right? Whether that's through a person's verbally saying it, whether it's what you see on social media, whether they tell you it straight to your face, right? You actually don't know what's happening inside them. They could be absolutely miserable. I mean, I think about me when I was in my emotionally abusive relationship. I had a smile on my face a lot. From all intents and purposes, I looked to be a really happy person who was married with 3 kids in a big, nice house, right? I was miserable. So you don't really know what people are dealing with. And that goes for your abuser too. So even though it looks like he might be living his best life, quote unquote, do you really know? Can you really know unless you're inside of that person's mind? No, you cannot. So what if their happiness doesn't actually take anything away from you? Let's say they are happy, right? Let's just go with it. Okay, we have proof, we have confirmation. Let's say you zap into their brain and you're like, yep, they are truly happy, right? But that's not taking anything away from your life. What if the real truth here was that you were always the one who matters most to you? I mean, that's the fact of the matter. You are the most important one. Doesn't matter what other people are doing. Doesn't matter what he's doing. Doesn't matter what his ex is doing. Or not his ex, his new supply is doing. None of that matters. It actually isn't, whether he's happy or unhappy, is actually not changing how you feel. What changes how you feel is how you think about it. Okay? So let me give you an example of what I mean by this. If your ex is sailing through Greece, I have no clue, I'm just coming up with something, and you knew this because your family told you, they heard it from a friend, blah, 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 right? And he seems to be really happy. He's living his best life, all the things, right? And you just like gag me with a fork, right? Well, you are making meaning out of that. That's why you're either angry, sad, jealous, bitter, resentful, whatever it is, because of the meaning you're making out of it. So if you get to choose, right? So does it mean something about you that your ex is seemingly happy sailing through Greece, right? What are you making that mean about you? And is that actually true? That's the question. So if you feel like this, write that down. What are you making it mean? What are you making it mean about you? What are you making it mean about life? What are you making it mean about your life? That meaning you just made up. That meaning is not necessarily true. Because if my ex was off sailing Greece, I wouldn't make it mean anything about me. I'd make it mean something about him, that he's got to fulfill some need inside him to go do that. It really doesn't have anything to do with me at all. Right? So what is that meaning? What are you making it mean? And then you got to challenge that. That's the thing, okay? Because what they're doing, whether he truly is happy or not, it's not actually taking anything away from you. You get to create your own happiness. And if you're unhappy, it's not because someone else is happy. It's not because someone else is unhappy. It's because of what you're making it mean inside of yourself. You know, I came to a shift a long time ago about this exact thing. And the meaning I was making about my ex doing all the things he was doing, like improving the house and going on vacations and, you know, buying his new wife these things and like all the stuff, right? Like I originally was making negative meaning about some of those things. But what I realized was, you know, I didn't necessarily want him to be unhappy. Does he deserve to be? Sure. But I don't really want him to be unhappy. And here's why. Because if he's unhappy, right? And I can't control his happiness, I can control what he's feeling. But I really don't want him to be unhappy because he's going to be more irritable. He's going to take it out on my kids. He's going to file frivolous motions with the courts. He's going to do who knows what, right? Happy people don't do that stuff. So for me, it was like I had to make that shift internally, be like, wow, I actually don't really want him to be unhappy. Now, am I spending a lot of time like thinking about, oh, his happiness and he should be happy? No, I'm not. I don't think about him like that, okay? My point is, you get to choose based on the things that you're thinking and the meaning that you're making. So what is the story you want to tell yourself? What is going to make you feel better? Are you telling yourself things that are just making you feel worse? And if so, why? Why are you doing that? And you might be like, I don't know. Well, it's going to take some introspection. It's going to take some self-reflection. What are you going to lose or have to give up if you stop thinking those thoughts and feeling those feelings? What is that going to do for you? This is going to be different for everyone. But I knew for me that it helped me stay in victim mode. It helped me be like, oh, what he did was so horrible to me. And it was. I'm not denying that. But I also didn't want to be a victim to him anymore. And I knew that by thinking those things and believing those thoughts and really like being married to those old stories that I kept wanting to repeat and not let go of those stories, that I was just holding myself back. I wasn't allowing myself to fully heal and move forward. Some people will be ready for this in time. Sometimes you got to process these things and it doesn't take the same amount of time for everyone. So some people might be listening to this today and be like, ugh, I'm not ready for that. And that's fine. Maybe you come back to it in a year and you're like, okay, now I understand. Now I'm ready. That's fine. There is no timeline. There is no expectation. You get to move at your own pace. Does this make sense? Okay. Now, just as a closing thought here, you don't have to fix the thoughts that are running through your mind, okay? Like the ones that I was saying earlier at the very, very beginning, like the secret thinkings that we have, you know, oh, the other woman's better than me, and, you know, I hope he suffers and regrets it, and like all those things, right? You don't have to like fix the thoughts per se, okay? You can reframe the thoughts, which is what the goal of this podcast is, to get you to start thinking about how I can reframe it. And you need to really hold space for yourself that there was hurt underneath these thoughts. They didn't come from nowhere. They came from the trauma. They came from the abuse. They came from the constant criticism, the gaslighting, the manipulation, the crazy making, the stonewalling. That's where these things came from. The devaluation of you, the erosion of your soul, the removal of your identity, right? That's where that stuff came from. So you can honor that. You're not trying to fix these thoughts. You're aware of them, which is good. You understand that they came from a place of deep hurt. That's normal. It's okay. I don't want you to feel like you have to change yourself or like do all these different things or like be something else. You don't. You need to, number one, recognize that this is normal. Number two, just have that general awareness about what's happening inside your mind and know that you can change it if you want to. If you're ready to. That's where you start. So if you have thought these things, if you have been ashamed to admit these things out loud, I get it. I've been there too. But the most important thing that I want you to know is that your subconscious thinking, your subconscious thought patterns are either the source of your peace or the source of your pain. And if you ignore the subconscious and you keep band-aiding and you keep distracting and you keep hiding your feelings and stuffing your thoughts, like all that stuff, you will stay stuck. And I don't want that for you. I hated feeling stuck, and I'm sure you do too. So if you're ready to stop these mental spirals, these subconscious runaway trains, right? That's how I think of them. I can help you with that. When you're done listening, scroll down to the show notes. There's a link to schedule a free 30-minute chat with me, and I'd be happy to talk through this with you. I don't do high pressure sales. I'm just going to tell you what I offer, and I'll listen to you and hear your story. You know, sometimes people don't have a safe space that they can share these things. Like if you've read my book, if you read When Tears Leave Scars, the opening chapter of that book is pretty, I don't know what the word is, shocking, I guess is the word. And I say some tough things out loud in that book. So if you need somebody to hold space for the wild thoughts that you've had, I can do that for you. I'm happy to do that for you. And I'm not going to judge you. I can't judge you. Here's why. I tell my clients this every time they sign up with me in my one-on-ones. I cannot judge you because I know that your behaviors, your thoughts, your beliefs, all that stuff is from programming. That'd be like me trying to judge a robot that was programmed to walk the dog 40 times a day, right? Like, well, that's excessive. No, it was programmed to do that. So I can't judge you either. So if you need that supportive space and you want to be heard, I'm happy to do that for you. And then I'll give you some guidance and I'll tell you what I think if you want it. Okay? Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Be kind to yourself. Know that you're human. Know that these things that nobody talks about is okay. I'm not judging you. Don't judge yourself. Talk to you next week.